Brenton, it is good to see you in Moscow. What are you doing, brother?
Why, hello there, Nathan. How are you today?
Very good. What is voice you're doing?
Voice? What voice?
You
This is my normal voice. I've had it since I was a young child.
You are Russian, Brenton. You are born in Moscow.
We are in Soviet Russia, and this is how we talk here.
Let me just turn to the Red Army and ask, Red Army, do you think this is the accent that Brenton should use?
You got that right, mate. Yes, he does.
Brenton, we're in Soviet Russia right now. What an exciting time.
Oh,
we're live
shit,
from Soviet
Fucking
Russia.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are we all? Welcome to Classic Movie Banter. Like we said, coming to you live from Soviet Russia.
Oh, yes.
You know that podcast where we review movies that are 20 years or older. 20 years!
You took the lines out of my mouth.
I literally ripped them out. Now,
Yes.
My name is Brenton, and that guy over there is one Nathan.
But today I'm Nathanov.
Yeah, Nathanov. I am Brentonov.
Nathan. This is like the Russian knockoff version of the podcast.
Yeah, man. This is the stuff that we're like our alternate selves. We're like ourselves in a parallel universe right now. We've kind of swapped with them. Like our real selves from this universe are currently in the universe of our Russian selves, and they are having a great old time in Moscow and
I love it.
sipping vodka, having a good time.
Don't you love it when in movies and TV shows they show you you have the team of characters from a main movie or TV show, but then there's an episode or movie where they have their exact opposites, or there's a team but from a different place. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah, man.
And it's and all the characters are wait a minute, they're like us but Russian. It's that's what's happening today.
Totally, man. Have you seen the trailer for
Zombieland 2?
Zombieland 2? Fuck, man, you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, I am doing
shit.
ripping now. In Soviet Russia, I rip you.
Holy shit, man. We are on the same page today. I wonder if that's going to continue when we talk about today's film. Now, I will give you guys a bit more context in terms of if you've never seen the show, Classic Movie.
Firstly, congratulations. You've made the wrong decision arriving here today.
Congratulations on seeing it, because there's actually nothing to see given that it is sent out on an audio medium. But
cheers,
that's but that's okay. But if this is your first time listening in, like we said, we review films that are 20 years old, and we basically tell you whether these films are still worth watching today, or whether they're not, and they should be sent away, grinded down into a fine dust, and then scattered, in your grandma.
Sprinkled over Soviet Russia.
Yeah. That's a better one. Yeah, sprinkled over Soviet Russia as we kind of fly over. What we'll do is, Nathan, because I presume this is how it will work. We'll get on a flight from Russia to somewhere else, and we'll go into the bathroom. You and I will go into the one bathroom, and they'll be like, "Are they joining the Mile High Club?" No, we're not. We are going in there with the ashes of this film. And we'll just sprinkle them into the toilet, and we'll do the vacuum flushing system where it's and it sucks it out.
That is the worst sound in the world. I don't know why airplanes always have it. It's so bad. It terrifies me. I've been in so many fights, and still that sound terrifies me.
What's interesting is that I find it oddly satisfying.
Really?
I'm not even kidding. It's loud, and it gets you. It's oh shit, and there it is.
As a kid, I thought for years that it literally just dropped off the bottom of the plane. They didn't store the shit. It literally just fell from the sky.
What are you talking about, Nathan? I thought that's exactly what happened.
I always wondered how if the flight paths were designed so the shit would never hit any people. But then oh no, I turned 10, and then I told someone, and they're like, "You're a fucking idiot." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry."
Nathan, I could continue that with other stories of your Nathanisms and you discovering things in life, but hey,
we're here to review a movie, aren't we?
Yeah, and we will be starting another epic, which is ironic because that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
What a segue, Brenton. It almost sounds like we're in a Hollywood studio and you're about to pitch me this movie.
Nathan, let's talk about Doctor Zhivago. Here we go.
Who is Doctor Zhivago?
All right, mate. You know that classic old novel, Doctor Zhivago?
I really don't, Brenton. I've never heard of this book in my life.
shit, now I have to actually try in the pitch. All right.
Wait, are you talking about the Nobel Prize winning novel that was banned in Soviet Russia?
That's exactly what I'm... So basically, this is going to be an adaptation of that. So basically, the story follows this...
Wait,
this
are you
man.
David Lean in this equation?
No, I'm not going to even attempt that.
Oh, because he's very British, so like you could...
He is.
You could really ramp up that accent.
Wait,
is this Bridge on the River Quays, David Lean?
It is. It is. It's also Lawrence of Arabia.
So let me guess. You want to make another epic?
Yeah, I want to make another epic, and basically what I want to do is I want to do an adaptation of this Nobel Prize, this Nobel-winning... Fucking, I can't even talk today, dude. This is a great pitch. Shit, my career's on the line. I got to get it in. All right. So we're following the story of this man.
The man, the myth.
The man, the myth, the legend that is Doctor Zhivago. Mm-hmm. Guess what? He's a doctor, but he's not at the start of this. He's an orphan boy that is taken in by this family.
Is he under the cupboard?
No, he's not. But he has a half brother who is Alec Guinness, aka Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so he's raising his family, and he begins practice. And this whole film, like, I can't even start to explain it, because then I'll naturally have to explain the plot of each kind of beat of this film, because this film covers a number of years in this man's life.
It does.
And it covers the revolution in Russia.
So when is this set? Where is this set?
It's set. So initially it's set before World War One, I believe. And then we go through World War One, we go through the revolution, and we kind of come out the other side, I guess. That's
so
kind of the
does that mean
time.
you need to know a lot about the Russian Revolution to get this movie?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Because we're actually focusing on this film. We're not so much... That's the scope. That's the backdrop. Mm-hmm. What we're focusing on is this man's life and how his artistry, because even though he's a doctor, he's also a poet, his artistry and his personal relationships with his wife and also his mistress.
Ooh! Sounds like a love triangle, Brenton. Ooh.
One might call it that, but yeah, it is. And it's this kind of...
Actually, a love triangle insinuates one of the girls likes the other girls, so no, it's just him being adulterous, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely, Nathan. And it follows this story of...
What a plot twist. The women meet and they just start making out with each other. Like, Zhivago's like, whoa. I didn't see this coming.
Whoa. I didn't see this coming, but I'm kind of okay with it. Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't really want to get into more than that, but I will say in terms of the plot of the film, the reason that the plot is being conveyed to us is because Alec Guinness, who plays his half brother, as I said before, thinks that this young woman he meets at some point in the future is Dr. Zhivago's daughter, and that's all I'll say. And so he begins to tell her the story of her father to kind of question her and see if there's any relation, which kind of alludes to something that happens at the end, I guess. But that's all I'll say for now until we get into spoilers. Nathan, do I need to say anything else really at this stage? Is that enough to get people in? Like, we're talking Russian Revolution, we're talking World War One, we're talking a man who is kind of, his artistry is at stakes, his relationships are at stakes because of what is happening in his country. And also because, he's married.
There's a lot of stakes in this movie, It's this huge romance epic in World War One, and we see this doctor living about in a time of change, and maybe he has to change, or maybe he doesn't change. What a pitch, Brenton. I'm going to give you so much money, and I'm going to only pray, Brenton, that in the 1950s, people will want to see a romance epic about the Russian Civil War. And hopefully it'll make some money.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. It'll only take 20 years to make. It's all good.
Did it actually take 20 years to make?
No, it did. It did not. No.
I didn't read that fact.
David Lean is an experienced filmmaker at this stage. He knows how to do an epic. He knows what he's doing. But let's get into it, Nathan. So I got to say, when I was coming into this episode, I was not looking forward to watching this film at all. Mm-hmm. I was expecting... Obviously, this film has a huge runtime.
Yeah.
And I was nervous. I was very nervous. Having watched films such as Bridge Over the River Kwai, which remember I did enjoy that film.
Yeah, as did I.
Yeah, we both did. Hey, watch that episode.
David Lean fans.
Listen to that episode. Holy shit! I need to get my. What medium are we using? We're using an audio medium, which means you listen to it, Brenton. Get it in your head. Anyway, so we both enjoyed Bridge Over the River Kwai, which I thought
in the corner of the room. I just smacking himself with the shoe.
Pretty much. Someone give me a sock. So we watched that. We enjoyed it. I still have not seen Lawrence of Arabia. You have.
I have. Yeah.
What do you think of Lawrence of Arabia out of interest?
Pretty fucking incredible. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, right.
It's long.
So I'm excited.
It's longer than it needs to be, but it's pretty bloody brilliant.
I really want to see it, and I want to see it in 70mm because there's a theater that's near me that shows it like every now and then in 70mm, and I kind of want to go along to one of those screenings.
I think it's like 4 hours. Like you really got to like set out time for this shit. Yeah.
But man, I'd pay for a ticket and go see it in.
Nice.
In
I
the
won't.
cinema.
I can't see that movie again. It takes a lot of you.
Okay, so that kind of gives you guys the context of how familiar we are with David Lean's work, and I guess Hollywood epics as well from this person.
He is like the Hollywood epic man. Like, you know, he's the Cecil B. DeMille of 1950s epics.
This is true. I still haven't seen Lawrence, so I'd love to see it.
Oh, wait, this is 1965. What the fuck am I saying? That's when this film was made.
65. We're not in the 50s. 65. I really like this movie.
You do, Brent.
I do.
I really do. So I love those green eggs and ham. I eat them every day.
I think this film is like obviously epic in scale. Epic in terms of scale, but like...
Mate, Battlefield Earth was also pretty epic in scale when you think about it.
Yes, but I think what tips this over the edge for me is that this is just really intelligent filmmaking. This is epic in scale in terms of the events that are happening, but it's personal. It's from a very personal perspective, and I do appreciate that. It reminds me, in terms of story, it reminds me something of like a Les Miserables or something like that. It's something that's...
Oh, I would have loved Hugh Jackman in this movie, Brenton. He just fucking rocks up fresh from the French Revolution. He's like, right, we took care of France, now it's time for Russia.
I was going to say I would appreciate Russell Crowe more, but you know, we can't have both. We can only have one Australian actor. So let's call Hugh, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoy this film. I think it's very special. I think it's obviously it's I don't know, because I haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, so I imagine if you'd seen that, maybe obviously that's on like another level. But this for me is just epic in scale. I love how it focuses on this character and how we follow this man and like his predicaments.
Have you actually seen like a big epic? I don't know if River Kwai really fits that bill, but have you seen like a proper...
I don't think it has. I don't think I have.
Have you? So you don't think you've ever seen... This is your first like proper old Hollywood epic? Like you haven't seen like Ben-Hur or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I've seen clips from all these films, mind you.
There you go. You've big... Look at Brandon. He's seen his big first Hollywood epic he has.
Yeah, so I did enjoy it. No, sorry. I have seen Gone with the Wind. That's the one I have seen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If you've seen Gone with the Wind, yeah, you've done that then.
Yeah. So sorry.
I was going to pin a little badge on you, but now I'm just like, I'm going to rip. I'm pulling it back. I'm rescinding it.
Yeah. So I think obviously this film is extremely well shot. I like that we follow, like we kind of follow this man and we follow him on his adventures. I can't really get into it because of spoilers, but we follow him of like basically like the barren wastes of like Russia. We see this changing landscape through this film, both in terms of like the landscape changing and also the landscapes of his relationships.
It's almost like the country is changing itself, Brenton.
Exactly. I think there's some strong performances in there. It's a very tragic story, so if you're going to watch this, be prepared for that. It's not a happy tale.
Well, I wouldn't have disclose that it's a tragic story because, you know, it might not be a tragic story if you know nothing about it.
It's about an artist during the Russian Revolution. It's like it's not
people walk out of that shit going okay.
It's my point is that it's not. I'm not giving away the ending. I'm not saying that it's necessarily a tragedy. I'm saying there's tragic elements.
You literally just said it's a tragedy. Jeez, listeners, go back to the time code. Prove me right.
This film has tragic elements. It is not. It is not. I would not class it as really a total tragedy.
No.
It has got tragic elements, and it's quite a sad film. My point is that you're not going to go into this watching something that's very happy-go-lucky. You're not going into this to watch a musical. You're going into this to watch this a very.
But you know what, Brenton? It does kind of feel like a musical. Did you get
in
those
what
vibes?
way?
It just like,
not.
I think maybe because of the Les Mis comparison you just made, I feel like this movie could have had songs thrown into it, and it wouldn't have been worse for it.
Perhaps, but maybe we're just talking because
emotional. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think this could have easily had the ensemble dancing, and like they're bloody like shooting up shop in like country Russia, then suddenly they're all fucking dancing with their guns. You know what I mean? Well,
it's interesting that you say that because Doctor Zhivago was then adapted into a musical. Oh. It is a musical now. So
I would be interested in seeing that musical, Brenton. In
you?
fact, look under your chair, buddy. What are those tickets for?
Oh, you cheeky bugger.
Just you joking there for cats.
Thespian. Oh, my gosh. Fuck. God damn it.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Oh, that'd be so good if I got us cats tickets. Jeez.
Well, we're going to go see it at the end of the year. Like, I'm so excited.
I know you keep saying it. And, like, the more you say it, the more you think it's going to happen. But I don't want it to, Brenton.
I'm buying the tickets. Like like it's my shout. No, actually it's not. You can.
No, I was about to say you're not paying that much money for us to see cats.
I would, but then the way I see it is that I introduced you into this bullshit. So like,
yeah.
So like
you gave me the fucking disease, mate. Like I'm paying medical bills now because of this shit. Like
I passed it on.
You sneezed on me, motherfucker. It's like, geez, you should be buying me tickets.
But yeah, like I get that there's like very dramatic. This film's very grandiose. And maybe it is as well, like in terms of it's a classic old Hollywood movie. Like it has kind of got those production elements that like say something like The Sound of Music, which was funnily enough released in the same year.
Yeah, crikey, good year for film, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good, really good.
Ah.
Isn't that insane that this came out the same year as The Sound of Music?
That is pretty bonkers, like, yeah.
And to just go, oh yeah, The Sound of Music, and it's like, yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good movies.
Bloody because Audrey was against Andrew Joy, wasn't Joy Andrews, wasn't she? So is this then the same year as well as bloody
Breakfast?
My Fair Lady?
Or was it My Fair Lady or Breakfast? I can't remember.
One of them, like, yeah. Bloody hell, mid-60s. They had some bloody hits flowing out, didn't they?
Mate, I'm all 60s out at the moment. I swear to God. Like, it's just been consistently...
Okay, next step, we're going to have to leave the 60s, Brenton. That's a rule, okay?
Sounds good. That's a deal.
Look, mate, the first hour of this movie, I really wasn't in love with it. I was like, fucking hell. It felt like I was reading a novel from like 2 centuries ago. I felt like I was reading like fucking War and Peace, and I'm like, I am not in the mood to see a film that's fucking War and Peace. You know what I mean? Like, because like, it's like, especially because it starts like, I like how the movie starts off with the old paintings. You're like, okay, we're going for like a period piece as the titles go up, and you're like, okay, I'll fall into it. But it just felt so fucking boring, and I'm like, geez, I'm gonna hate this film the whole way through. And there was a moment after the first hour, I can't remember what the turning point was, Brenton, but I went from like going, Jesus, this feels like a chore, to like, no, I'm 100% for this movie.
That's like, crazy, man. Like, what a turnaround.
I really thought, because it starts off with fucking Obi-Wan being, Alec Guinness being like, am I your father? I'm like, I wasn't in love with it. And you see Zhivago like milling about Moscow being like, I'm the best fucker alive. And so I'm like, I don't want to see a movie this shit. But then like, I don't know, I think shit finally hits the fan like an hour in, and you really see some stakes. And I'm like, I think especially because the adultery starts being brought in, and you're like, oh, okay, no, I'm all for this.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't think the film would be as strong without the first hour, if that makes sense. I think...
Yeah.
I think like there's enough in the first hour that really pulls me in. Like I was kind of into it from the start. I was...
You know what? The whole time I was watching the film, I just kept on thinking, God, life sucked back then. Like life was shit in Russia in the First World War.
It's bleak, man. Like, that's what I mean. Like it's quite a depressing movie,
and all the characters, like, they're just all so depressed. Like every scene is them going like, oh gosh, now this happened in the country, and they're just like, fucking hell, and they just constantly have like just their lives continually upheaved, and they're like, I guess we'll keep living. Like, and you can really see them debate it. They're like, oh, like, yeah, I guess we can go to the country. Oh yeah, like, I guess that's why the adultery doesn't really hit home, because they're all just happy to be alive at this point.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like it's one of those. It's such a, and I guess for us today, like, and we are both very fortunate in terms of our lifestyles and where we are in the world.
We're lucky enough to do a podcast, Brenton. That's the greatest gift of all.
precisely, like our biggest dilemma is whether we're going to like or dislike a film on this podcast, like compared to, you know, living this day-to-day like grueling lifestyle of, you know, it's just to watch this, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to fathom. But I also like these stories. I don't know. I love these stories of these people that like fight adversity and are like, you know, struggling to like get through their day-to-day life. And then also on top of that, the drama of like the adultery and whatnot. Does
this movie make us want to ship adultery? Because I feel like this movie really wants us to like side with the mistress over the wife, because it gives like no attention to his wife. Like,
it's really interesting because I think one of the films I've seen that I think does try to ship adultery, which is kind of, and the way it gets away with it is because of the people it's about, is actually Walk the Line, which I've mentioned on the podcast.
Oh my
before.
God, Brandon talking about Walk the Line. Here we bloody go. Like,
so no, but it's like you watch that film and it's like I always think in that film, I'm like, wow, like, you know, I get that there's this connection between these two characters, but the film isn't really paying enough attention in my mind to like this woman that is like the wife that is at home with the kids, you know, like, and it does to a certain degree, and like there is that drama in the film, but you're watching it and you're just like, it's almost like she's the villain in the piece, and it's like, well, no, he is really, but and I'm talking about Walk the Line at the moment. Whereas like what I felt like in this film was that like similar comparison, sure, but it's so interesting, and again, it comes back to this thing, and it's similar to Walk the Line as well. And what I say there is that, again, I like this movie, I think, the more I think about it, is because this main character is so conflicted, he's so complicated, and so is the character
is
of Lara.
He though?
But
like, I feel like, I know, it's more spoiler territory, but I feel like when he like dances back and forth between the girls, it's purely circumstantial. Like, it's just because something happened, war related, and so I guess I'm with this girl now, but then something else I was like, I guess I'm with her now. Like,
I think it's deeper than that. My opinion is that it's definitely deeper than just that surface level. Oh, it's where I happen to be. Though the geography does come into it in the sense of like that, you know, he's in closer relation with this person because she happens to be in a town that's nearby or whatever it is. But my point is that he still makes the decision to, you know, I can't talk about this because of spoilers, but he does make decisions based on his convictions.
He's a man of choices. He should be leading the people, shouldn't he, Brenton? He makes tough choices.
He should not be leading the people.
No.
But
you know what? Controversial statement, Brendan. I'm going to bloody say it on this podcast. I don't like the man, Dr. Zhivago.
You don't like the...
I would never be with him. Because you know why? He's so fucking perfect in this movie. He's one of those fuckers that you see out and you're just like, Jesus, you're perfect. He is a wealthy Russian doctor, and he's a good-looking chap by Omar Sharif. This fucker can have any girl on the planet. Like there is nothing wrong with him. He will go out and fucking steal shit to support his fam. He will like write poetry. He's a poet. Like, what girl would not fall in love with a Russian doctor who is also a poet that looks like Omar Sharif?
Well, I could answer that very simply, but it'd be a spoiler in the film, so I can't.
There is not a single woman this boy could not get. Like, Jesus. Like, he even's got a badass mo, Brenton. I don't normally want to grow mows, but I want his fucking mo. It's a good mo.
I think this character... I get what you're saying. I get this character is very attractive, and not just in the physical sense, but like he's an attractive person.
Perfect.
No, he's not. He's not at all.
I mean, besides the adultery, let's sweep that under the rug. But like, apart from that, like, the fucker's got nothing. Like his problems that he just wants to write like good poetry, and the country's like, no, your poetry's too good, and he's like, fine, I guess I'll be a doctor in the war. Like, you know what I mean?
But even so, like, but I think there's a lot of conflict in that. Like in what you just said, I disagree. Like I know that he's as a character, he is someone that is very attractive as a person, as a personality. But I think what this character is put through at the beginning of this film and how his life unfolds is nowhere near perfect. God, like it's.
Yeah, his life's not perfect, but I don't think he's a bit of an idiot sometimes. Like, he does some idiotic things we'll talk about in spoilers, but like I also feel like Alec Guinness, when he finally rocks up, he just solves all the problems for him as well. Like there'll be a problem, then Alec Guinness will be like, hello there, I'm General Kenobi, and he'll do his little Obi-Wan voice and he'll solve shit. Like, that's what Alec Guinness does. You know what I mean? There's no tension.
He doesn't solve this man's major issues, I guess.
No. Just Alec Guinness sits down, he's like, use the force. It's like, there's the light and the dark. And Zhivago's like, but which one?
They sit down for a conversation. He's like, you must come with me to Alderaan.
And then Zhivago's like, what? And it's like, oh, that's one thing we have not talked about that we really got to fucking talk about before spoilers. They're all British. All of them. And like,
this is true. Yeah.
They shouldn't be. It's the most glaring issue with the movie. And it's so fucking outdated because they should all have Russian accents. You know what I mean?
I agree, but I'm willing to pass it because this is a practice that is still being done today.
Yeah, and speaking of done today, Chernobyl is the biggest one guilty of it this year.
That is true.
Have you seen that TV series?
I have. Yeah, I mean, you've got Stellan Skarsgård that's doing a kind of European accent, but he's Scandinavian, obviously, so it's not Russian.
And
but
it's not because like they're all brilliant actors, but like.
But that's the closest we get in that series. That's a great series. Like it's a solid series, I should say. I don't know,
but it just sounds ludicrous. Like they're in like the fucking like nuclear plant, and the guy's like losing his like fuck. He's like, we're all gonna die, but he's and he's like running about like a headless chook.
Keep the test going. And it's like, what?
Yeah, and he says the most like authoritative, like he's sounding like the fucking villain from It's a Wonderful Life. It's like, Jesus. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, Jared Harris is a brilliant actor, but again, it's like he's like when he's explaining do you even know how a nuclear reactor works?
Yeah, it's like the fuck, like you're in like Soviet Russia. It's like it's the same thing with this. Like everyone's speaking. Like I love that they're eloquent. Like I'm like fuck yeah, it's cool like hearing these like classically trained actors. But we're in Russia. When you see the fucking like Russian language in the movie, that's like the only star, and you fucking see the Kremlin. You're like, oh yeah, that's right, we are in Russia. Like, oh.
This raises questions for me because now I'm thinking as to like why this is in Hollywood, because and I think it's obviously I think it might be at this time to do with something like the Cold War in the sense of like all the bad guys in film are Russians, but when they're presented as Russian bad guys, they have these very thick, deep Russian accents. Whereas in something like this, when where we're exposing the humanity of these people, we then revert to like say like a more Western approach in terms of their accent, their humanizing these people. So maybe it's that, but it's interesting that still continues today. Like, and because
bonkers.
Because, you know, like Italian people in films have Italian accents, you know, French people have French accents. What is it about the Russian accent? Or is it the Russians which causes us to...
Would you love to see an adaptation of this novel done by the Russians?
I mean, why not?
I know. I would have really loved a version where it was filled with Russian actors, accomplished Russian actors with subtitles and just like, and you really feel like you're there. Or they're all bloody all going on about like, you know, the change, like the Red Army and that kind of shit. I'm like, you sound like you're from like, I don't know, like Essex. It's like, go back. It's like, you know what I mean?
Totally. Nathan, I had a question for you in terms of what you were saying about you got on board with this film after a certain point. On a scale of like, on the scale of 1 to 10, how into it were you getting into? Like in terms of like the ending of this film, were you emotionally affected?
I wasn't shedding tears, which is what I think probably was more likely happening at the time. As far as emotional investment, like, I don't know, I wasn't like, there were definitely moments where I gasped, and you know what? Yeah, I was definitely emotionally involved, because there were points, big moments happening in the story, I was like, you fucking idiot, or I was like, oh my god, they did that? Or like, oh no, this character maybe is no longer with us. I was like moments like that, I was like, oh, I actually,
there's one specific moment. There was one specific moment towards the end that I was like, what happened?
Oh, yeah. The ending of this film, I don't want to talk about in non-sports, but I was like, what the actual fuck? I was like flipping tables. I was like, what?
I do like the end of this film though.
Okay, we're getting near the end. We should probably rate it then. Let's spoil this shit. Like,
yeah.
I can feel us like our fingers on the trigger. It's like a Mexican standoff. We're bloody standing.
Who's going to spoil this shit first? And you know, we can't let that happen. So Nathan, I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say I really like this film. I'm really keen to watch it again. Surprisingly enough,
like you love it that much.
I'd like to watch it again just to like really cement kind of my experience and you know see it again. I want to see it on like a bigger screen though. I watched this on my iPad, which is probably it is not the way to watch this movie at all, and I want to watch it on a bigger screen. The biggest screen I can find. So yeah, I will definitely be doing that. But for now, I'll be giving it my thumbs up approval.
This is hard for me because like on a Thursday night, like I'm trying to imagine people like it doesn't have a lot of issues with its length. I don't think this felt as long as it could have. So like normally with these old movies,
that's one of the biggest positives I have to say is that like for a over 3 hour epic, it's in terms of its pacing, it doesn't necessarily feel, it's long, but it doesn't feel that
out
long.
of like Kwai and Arabia and this, out of like Lean's like, you know, triumvirate, I think this is probably the best pace out of all of them. So like,
wow, yeah, cool.
I think the pacing of this was better than River Kwai. And like,
I'd agree. Yeah,
I don't think this is the film if you want to know much about the Russian Civil War. Like, if you don't know much about the Bolsheviks and like the October Revolution, all that kind of stuff, like, this is not your entryway because it is very much background noise. It's important to the story, but it's background noise. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, you know, my mates and like family members and like the average. Like, would they put on this movie? It's hard. If you like iconic scores, this would be pretty good. I don't know. This is really hard. What would make
it's up to you, man. No pressure.
If this like came up on Netflix and people were like, oh yeah, we'll put on Doctor Zhivago, like, would ya? Like, do you need to see this movie in 2019?
Would ya?
Would you do it for 2 Scooby Snacks? I don't know. Like, why should someone watch this in 2019, Brenton?
Oh, I think it's a classic. I think it's one of those. You know what you're getting into.
Not 2020 or beyond, just 2019.
Yeah, I just think like. It's one of those films that I think that, like, you know, I don't know if everyone needs to see it. Like, it's not something that is, but I think you know what you're getting when you put on Doctor Zhivago. You know the kind of scope of the film you're going to get. You know that the time it's come from. Again, if you're someone that you just watch the MCU or whatever, you're not going to get around this because it's going to be like, whoa, what the fuck am I watching? Like, it's too slow paced. It's nowhere near the pace of like what films.
You know what? If you can do River Kwai, you can do this. I think
absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe River Kwai should be like your testing of the waters, like because that's a lot slower, but as good, nearly. I don't know. It's too fresh, but yeah, I would not just suddenly say put this movie on. Like you gotta have, this can't be your first epic. I'd even say see Ben-Hur before this because Ben-Hur's better than this. I don't know. We need to put more epics in our repertoire, Brenton, to start comparing.
I'm keen. I'm definitely keen to do that. I'd be keen to watch some more. I'd be keen to watch Ben. I'd be keen to watch Lawrence as well. So it gets me really excited. I really like this era of film, and I like this kind of genre of film. These huge sweeping epics that we just don't get today. So it's well, we do. That's a lie. We do, but it's never on this scale, on this kind of production design. No. You know,
it feels like you're watching a very old play, but a beautiful old play.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah,
with the intermission and like the opening like score. Like I downloaded the score, by the way, Brenton. I was very happy with it.
Wow. There you go.
Lara's theme is fucking incredible. If you guys want to add that track to your Spotify playlists. Am I giving it a thumbs up? I'm so on the fucking fence. I'm glad we're at 68 because in 2 episodes I can revise this. But like, yeah, I guess watch Doctor Zhivago. It's one of the most iconic movies. Like, I'm trying to think if there's a better version of this kind of story. If there's like a better romance epic I could name that you could watch instead. But like Titanic, probably. If you can do Titanic, you can do this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, Titanic is much more modern in every sense of the word.
Do you think Titanic's better than this?
Oh, it's hard to say. After I've only seen this once, and
You know what? If you love Titanic, because a lot of people don't love Titanic, but if you love Titanic, you're gonna love this. And when I think about how many people fucking love Titanic, and also how many fucking tickets this movie sold, obviously a lot of people like it. So, no, but that shouldn't influence my opinion. Do I think it's worth watching? Yeah, my thumbs up, Brenton.
Cool. Well, hey, we're in agreement. Though I think for you might change in a couple of weeks, but that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hey, maybe I will as well after I watch it again. But hey, guys, you know what time it is?
What's the time, Brenton?
Spoiler time. Spoil the movie, spoiler time.
So there's a lot of shit we could turn into here. I want to go right near the start, Brenton, because there's one thing I really, one of my favorite scenes in the movie was that, because we could go through all the major plot beats and we could, but like one of my favorite little moments in this movie, there's a scene early on where we first see the first protests, Brenton. They're all in the streets and the fuckers are all like shouting, we want, I don't know, whatever they wanted, fair wages, I don't know, all that kind of shit. And we're in this rich restaurant. Do you remember this rich restaurant? We're in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the people, and like, it's the aristocrat. All these rich fuckers are eating their food. And the protest rocks up outside the restaurant. They're screaming and they're going like, you know, screw the current government. And then like the restaurant goes quiet. And then like one old fucker in the restaurant like shouts, no doubt they'll sing in tune after the revolution. And everyone in the restaurant like bursts into laughter. But then then it cuts to the protest outside the restaurant, and everyone like disbands, like as if the protest heard this one guy insult them, and everyone just kind of starts walking away, and it's amazing.
It's a great moment. It's funny that you remember that from the very beginning of the film. It's like
it stood out, Brenton. That's the first thing I laughed at, and I'm like, okay, maybe this movie won't be shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
I thought early on actually this movie was going to go on a Coco, because you know when he's at like hard cuts to the boy at the funeral in the middle of like Soviet Russia in like the fucking winter, and this kid's been given a guitar. I thought like as soon as he's at like his dead parents, he's going to start like strumming the guitar, and like the skeletons were going to start dancing, and I'm like, we're back in Pixar's Coco.
Hey man, you could have a spin-off. You could have a spin-off, a crossover even, just like spin-off of that kid with a crossover with Coco. Why not?
What do you think of we should talk about characters that we didn't talk about in non-spoilers. What do you think of like the weird best friend of that chick's mother? Like the uncle, the weird uncle, for lack of a better word.
He's weird.
Yeah. Because did you get that relationship at the start of the movie? Because I really wasn't following what the hell was going on between the two of them.
In terms of what?
Because I couldn't tell if he was her father, but then he started flirting with her. I'm like, oh, is this incest? But then like... Because he kind of mentions that he's friends with her mum, but then like her mum's no longer there. So like... Oh yeah! Because we see her mother commit like suicide near the start, right?
Yeah. It's full on.
Jesus.
Well, attempts to like it's very dark, and then like.
But what do you think of him?
Very, very strange, mixed up person. I think like like.
What does he want? Because he rapes her at one point, which is horrible.
Yeah.
It's like it's horrible, but he still tries and helps her throughout the movie. Like
it's like he's one of these characters, I think, that he has like a weird infatuation, is what I'd say. Is that he's this very unhealthy kind of view of a person, and whilst he puts his hand out and like to help someone, and it's probably coming from a genuine place, is still this thing that muddles him, which is interesting to watch and kind of scary to watch as well, because you're like, fucking hell, like. And it's interesting that character is just kind of there, and
like he solves a lot of problems for them. Like I like at the end how like he's like, you know what, you're all about to get fucking shot, and he's like, let's get the fuck out of this cottage, and like like that almost redeems him, but in my mind I still hate him by the end of the movie.
Nothing redeems him, I don't think.
No, I guess because we see the rape as well. Not that seeing the rape makes it any better, but like we really I was loathing him in that scene. Like when she shot him, I thought she killed him. Like at the fucking ball, it's like.
Yeah, which is a great moment as well.
Great moment. Although what an idiot. Why would you wait till the fucking ball finishes and just shoot him outside where there are no witnesses? What are you doing?
Nathan, when it comes to revenge and emotion, like high emotion like that, like, there's no logic to it. I just think that it's like, but it's such a powerful moment when she walks up and that happens. It's startling and it's
But everyone at the party is so nonchalant. Like, she shoots a man, and like everyone runs up to her, and like maybe like one old lady next to her is like reacting, but everyone else is so calm, and he's just like kind of like he falls onto the floor, and he's like, nah, it's all right, because he just got shot in the hand or whatever. Like,
it's funny how normal it is. Then you know what I mean? Like it's
maybe just because we're like in Russian Civil War, they're all like, oh fuck it, like things are about to get worse. Like they're all used to this shit.
Nathan, speaking of that scene where it involves a sled and them leaving the cottage, or a few of them leaving the cottage and leaving someone behind. What a scene I thought that was, actually. Like, because
where he walks in and he's like, you have to make Sophie's choice. It's like, do you want to stay here with her, or I guess she's going to go away with me? Yeah,
that's it. And he makes that choice, and then she gets taken away. And I think that's the last time they see each other, we will say.
Let's just jump straight to it. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. Like, what did you think about the ending? Because, first off, did you think it was her? Is that her?
Well, wait. I want to just talk about this goodbye scene really quick. But
sorry. No, keep going, mate.
No, I thought it was such it was such an emotional scene for me. Like, I was like...
Oh, were you really feeling shit? Is this the scene you were talking about in the non-spoilers?
In terms of...
You said there was a big emotional moment that you...
No. The big emotional moment was the one... There was a moment of hope in this film that made me kind of happy. No, this was just sad. This was just like, he makes that choice and he runs through that cottage and he gets to the top, he smashes the window and watches her go away. And you've seen that trope a million times, but for some reason, whether it's the performance, which I think is a mix of the performance and the direction obviously coming together, and also the cinematography, it's so kind of powerful, like in that sense of like, you follow these people on this epic journey and then that's the moment. But then at the end, like to continue on on to your point, he's on this tram and he says goodbye to Alec Guinness, who's giving him a hand again, and he gets on his little tram and he looks so fucking unwell. And and he looks at and he sees Lara.
So you think that is Lara? I mean, we kind of see her face.
I think it is.
You think that is Lara? Okay.
I think it is. I think for the scene to work, I think it is. It's and it literally kills him. Like he gets out into the street.
Yeah, see, I didn't buy this for 2 fucking seconds. Because he's healthy the whole film, and then out of nowhere, he's suddenly what does he die from?
Oh, I think years have passed at that point. I'm not saying that he's an elderly gentleman.
I know, because do you love his grey hair wig? Jeez, that's great. No mushery.
But I imagine that someone that is that deeply fucking depressed, that never got out of the system, that is stuck in this shithole, that can't,
Well, he knows where his actual wife and kid are. They're chilling in Paris, so he can go to them.
But I think there's a life that he's led there that is just so unhealthy from a mental standpoint that obviously that would have ramifications on his health.
Yeah, I don't know. When he passed out on the floor, it's really, it's
I buy
it's a little bit
that
cheesy.
He has the heart attack and he dies. But how tragic as well that they never see each other again, and then obviously,
but that's the thing. It's so stereotypically tragic. You know what I mean? And unnecessary. It doesn't complete a character arc.
Yeah, but that's the story. I think it works for the story, definitely, for sure. And for the characters, I think it's great. Because then without this and without a few scenes that happen after it, we don't get the proper ending of this film. So we leave that, and Zhivago's dead, and then we find out that Lara's had the child or whatever.
Yeah, and not only that, she dies in a labor camp.
Yeah,
Jeez, man, that's so dark.
She gets fucking arrested and sent to the gulag or whatever, and gets fucking
and Alec Guinness is narrating this, and he sounds just so casual about it. It's fucking hell, we lose our 2 main characters in the span of 1 minute. And you're just at the ending, that's the weirdest thing. All of the major characters at the end of this film end up miserable. No one's happy by the end of it.
Exactly. I mean, maybe
Alec Guinness is miserable. The wife and kid in Paris are miserable. Zhivago's dead. Lara's dead. No one's happy.
But we get one moment of hope, Nathan, and that is given to Alec Guinness when the supposed daughter walks away, and she has the I don't know what the instrument's called.
Yeah,
but
the guitar, whatever it is, the Russian guitar.
And she plays it. Well, she doesn't play it in the film, but it's we find out that she's an artist with this instrument, and it's this moment of brief hope that Alec Guinness's character has, that half brother of that is their daughter. And
yeah, because she can play the guitar. It's
no.
Is that a DNA test?
No, but it's their daughter, Nathan. For sure. There's no. That's.
I love it when her boyfriend comes in at the end as well, and you're just oh, hello, and he's just clearly unhappy that Alec Guinness has been holding her. He's oh, what's all this?
My favorite moment of his is when he says, oh, do you play? And he says, does she play? She does all this fucking. She's Do
you know my favorite Alec Guinness moment in this movie?
What is it?
And I fucking laughed at this moment. There's a scene in the movie where their house is they're staying still in Moscow, and their house has been given up to Soviet Russia, so there's 1 billion people living with them. And the people all starting to steal their shit. You know what I mean? Wait a minute, that's my wife's stuff. And then and so it begins to get chaotic. And then fucking Alec Guinness just steps into the room and he just clicks his fingers.
Yes, I already remember the scene. Yeah.
Like a fucking musical. It reminded me so much of Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 when he starts clicking at the jazz club.
No, take on this.
Just imagine Alec Guinness doing that. Oh, my mind went straight there. Jeez.
That's hilarious, great. Man.
Oh,
it is great, yeah.
And he just steals the movie because everyone walks out and he's right, you're in Moscow, you're miserable. Shut the fuck up, everyone. I'm going to get you to the country. No, you're going to go there and you're going to like it. And they're oh, okay, sure.
Now, Nathan, did you have any other spoilery content you wanted to chat about?
We need to talk about Harry Potter that's in this movie. Or the character that looks like Harry Potter. He looks so much. Actually, no, scratch Harry Potter. James Potter. He looks he's Russian James Potter. What's his fucking name? It's Posh. It's something that begins a P. Polish or something. He's this.
I think it is.
Posha. Posha?
Pasha or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like the husband of Lara, like who's so beautiful in this movie. She's wonderful. Like the film was going like, yeah, let's get around Lara. Fuck the first wife, even though like she's. Oh, by the way, the first wife is stunning as well, isn't she, Brenton? Like, you know, Zhivago's doing well. He's doing pretty well in both baskets. You know, you wouldn't be miserable with one. But anyway, back to Harry Potter. So Harry Potter's in. I'm going to call him Russian Harry Potter. So Russian Harry Potter is like dating Lara, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to go to war." And you know what I love about him, Brenton? He goes. We see him on the battlefield, and in the first minute, he gets like gunned down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like the whole movie is just like, you know, he's like, "I'm for the revolution. You know, you must choose duty over honor," and he just gets immediately shot down, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, man, but his arc is like really interesting during the movie. Like,
it's amazing. It's kind of weird that he ends up being this like warlord. They're like, I was surprised when I saw, because that's how, because when the first act ends, like it ends with the big reveal that he's the one on the train. I was like,
yeah.
Did you get around that interrogation scene?
I did actually. I like his arc. I like him as a character. And I like kind of his ending as well. That he ends up he kind of throws the whole thing into fucking shit because like he's on his way to his execution or whatever, and he commits suicide from memory.
Yeah. Again, it's just casually mentioned, and you're like, "Geez, this guy!" Like, and he was about to find them. I wonder what would have happened if he actually made it to the ice cottage.
Oh, I think he was. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you reckon he would have attacked Zhivago?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe.
I think he would have walked through the front door and gone, "Zhivago, you're a Russian poet who's also a doctor who's also beautiful. I can't compete with that." And he'll just shoot himself in the head.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. And that'll be the dialogue as well, Nathan.
That's exactly what the dialogue is, yeah. And like, Zhivago's such a fucking idiot. Like, why does he leave the train at the start of the second act? Because like, he walks off. He's an idiot on so many occasions. Because he walks off and he immediately gets kidnapped by like the Red Army. And like, he's enlisted. And then like, later, and like the only way he gets out of it is that they're like walking in the snow and he just decides to turn around at one moment. like the army gets up him and then just like waits to go to the back of the crowd. He just like walks in the opposite direction and no one bats an eye.
I know, right?
Like, I have no clue why he left the train in the first place. It's like, you're in the middle of a war-torn country. What are you leaving this train for? It's like, oh.
Hey man, he wanted some air. He's
an idiot. Like, he deserves to be captured. Jeez, like, oh. And you know what? He should have stayed on the train because one of my favorite characters is on the train. For some reason, Brenton, Tim Minchin is in this movie.
What?
That guy. The guy who was like the forced labor guy on the train. Who was like,
right.
Don't you think he looks like Tim Minchin?
I guess, kind of, maybe. Yeah.
He does. It's Tim Minchin for some reason. He's in the 60s filming bloody Doctor Zhivago. If you don't know who Tim Minchin is, like people who aren't a show, and he's this great musical comedian who wrote Matilda, the musical. Who you've met, Brenton, right?
I have met Tim. Yeah.
Did you ask him? Were you in Doctor Zhivago?
I did not ask him that, unfortunately. Oh. But if I run into him again, I will ask him that, and I'll let our audience know.
I love him. He's a great character. He's just like throwing shit on the train, like, like when they got like that old lady in with the dead baby, he's just like calling around it. Like, I love him. He's great.
So Nathan, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
I want to know what stills this movie.
Oh my God, Brenton. This might be one of my favorite stills. Not because of how good the frame is, but just because of the context.
Nathan, can you please explain what is going on in this still?
Okay, so there's a scene in the movie. Fuck, I love this movie. Okay, the more we're talking about it, Brenton, the more I'm getting around it. Because there's a scene in this movie where, like, what even is the context? There's like a scene where, like, they're passing through some army on the country road of Soviet Russia. And it's winter and it's snowing and everyone's miserable and rugged up. And like there's this army of maybe like, I don't know, 200 soldiers walking through like these peasants of like 100 soldiers or something like that. It's in the middle of the war, that's right. And there's for some reason there's a barrel on this road. Maybe it's like one of the horses that carry it. But like, anyway, one of like the commanders like stands up on this barrel and he gives this huge rousing speech to like both the army and these rebels who are definitely on opposite sides of the war. And he's like, you know what? We should just unite and be Russia and let's get around this country. And people are standing in this barrel and like the soldiers are putting up their guns, they're going, eh. And then what does he do? He says something that that like literally triggers someone because like something happens in the crowd and this random Russian bloke just whips out a gun and shoots him and he falls into the barrel that he's standing on.
He does.
And it's so quick and you just see his body just floating in this bloody water. And it's amazing because it happens so quickly. He just goes from hero to zero in the snap of a fingers.
And you took a photo of it, but it's like, that's what stills the movie.
It's funny because like as a shot, there are such gorgeous vistas in this movie, like truly incredible shots. But Brenton, just seeing this fucker just floating in a barrel dead in the middle of the Russian Civil War, nameless, we'll never know who he was or what he wanted. It just puts a smile on my face, buddy.
Well, Nathan, I tell you what will put a smile on my face, and that is when it's when I will find out how did they make this making movie magic? Yeah.
Brenton, how did they make this movie?
Nathan, do you know that this film used fake snow? It was not actually shot.
Are we returning to It's a Wonderful Life? How did they make this?
We might be, because not only did the mild winter mean no snow, the fields started turning green too early, so the crew used white paint, plaster dust, and even white plastic sheets to create many of the movie's snow-filled vistas.
Really?
Yeah, man. Which is like fascinating because like
why not just film in the snow? Like,
I don't know, man. Maybe they just needed something that was a bit more controllable. That wasn't as
I guess, yeah.
They didn't need as many variables. Maybe, I don't know.
Camera equipment they called the poor extras though, because they would have been rugged up in full Russian coats, boiling in like fake snow. You know what I mean? I would have been miserable if I was on that set. I'd be like, fuck this. Because one of the big facts of this movie is that they couldn't film in Russia. None of this is in Russia.
No,
because in 1964 when they were filming this shit, the Soviet Russia was in full force, and they didn't like the book or the idea of the movie. So it's funny. Did you know, Brenton, the Soviet government invited Lean to come to Moscow to discuss the movie?
What? Really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
They sent him an official letter saying, "Hey, it's Soviet Russia, Mr. Lean. Do you want to come over here and we can chat about the possibility of you filming the movie?" And David Lean didn't reply, and he didn't go at all because he thought the meeting was going to be them discouraging him from making the movie at all. So he's like, "How about I don't go to Soviet Russia?"
Right. That's so interesting. Yeah, there you go. Did you know that Sir Alec Guinness and director Sir David Lean quarrelled frequently on the set of this movie?
Really?
So, yeah, according to Guinness,
I did not know that.
Lean was acting the part of a superstar director and frequently insulted Guinness's performance and him personally. This caused a rift to develop between the two, and they didn't work together again until A Passage to India, which was 1984.
Jeez. But he's worked with Guinness before. They did River Kwai.
Yeah, totally.
What's all this about? Like,
I don't know.
What are you doing, David Lean, being mean to Alec Guinness?
I know.
You know what would have been really funny though? Because when they did, what was it, Passage to India you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been funny because when they did that movie, that would have been after Star Wars, so Alec Guinness then would have turned the tables on him.
Totally. He was the superstar. He was like, now I am the master.
I am Mos Eisley Cantina. You know what though? Interesting when you mentioned about David Lean's latter works, because when this movie came out, critics didn't love it immediately. They thought it was a little bit long. They had some issues with the adaptation. So it was always popular with audiences, but David Lean himself was very upset that the critics never really warmed to it. So he actually abdicated from making movies for a very long time. He only made 2 more after this. But it was interesting because film historians now say Zhivago was the last true Hollywood romantic epic. So
yeah.
This is kind of the closing chapter on it, yeah. And they cite that like Warren Beatty's Reds or Anthony Minghell's English Patient were like, kind of recreations of it, but this is kind of the last one that did it properly forever.
Right. So did you know this movie was not shown in Russia until 1994?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very controversial. Oh, there must have been bootleg copies or some shit like that. Like,
yeah, they were on the black market. They were like, oh, have you seen Doctor Zhivago? It's like, yeah,
just like you walk past some fucking black market in like St. Petersburg and I hear, ooh, Zhivago. They just snatch some fucking VCR out of some guy's hands. I love it. Brenton, the Ice Palace was made up mostly of not earwax.
I was going to say, what the fuck?
Could you imagine? Like they're walking through this set, and like the director leans into Guinness. And he's like, this is all earwax, and Guinness is like, ugh.
And he's like, do you know this is all my earwax? And it's like, oh.
But no, it was just made of actual wax, and did you find that glaring throughout the movie? The fact that the snow got that fucking intense in this house.
Yeah, man. It was like
like Jesus, it's like they're on the set of Frozen.
It's like
that's
Elsa,
not real.
You there? Can you please let it go?
They fucking walk into the house. There's fucking Elsa singing "Let It Go." Like Olaf is like, "Hello," and Zhivago's like, "Oh."
So I have a fact. This is my last fact about Omar Sharif, who played Doctor Yuri Zhivago. Had to undergo the daily inconvenience of having his eyes taped back and his hair straightened to disguise his Egyptian looks. He also had his hairline shaved up about 2 to 3 inches and his skin waxed, a process which had to be repeated every 3 days because he wore wigs in the movie.
Jeez, God. I mean, it's not Jim Carrey in the Mask levels of stuff, but it's still pretty bad.
It's pretty fucked, yeah.
Yeah. Also, just hire a Russian lead. I mean, Omar Sharif's great. Like, they're all great, but like, you could have just gone Russian. It would have been cheaper as well.
Well, Nathan, did you have any more facts for us today?
Nah, let's look at this one's poster.
Alrighty, Nathan, what are we looking at here? Because we're looking at Doctor Zhivago, a love caught in the fire of revolution. Turbulent were the times, and fiery was the love story of Zhivago, his wife, ellipses, and the passionate... What? The passionate...
Tender Lara.
There you go. Dr. Zhivago. I really like the main image. I like that it's kind of this collage of like a few of the characters, a cavalry charge, and I do like that. I like that artwork. And then we just have these 2 other random images down the bottom, which kind of really don't add anything. It's like we have another cavalry charge on the left, and then on the right we have Zhivago kissing his wife.
You're about to kiss both the women?
Yeah, like it's just like what I would have rather a bigger version of this main image blown up. You know what I mean? Just to take up the whole poster because I do like it. It's got like
the whole movie poster is just his head. We're just like really zoomed in.
It's like the It 2 posters that are out at the moment, which are just like the red
just
lines
Pennywise
of eyes. It's like Pennywise. It's like, but it's like Zhivago. It's like his eyes and his mouth on like a
no.
It's
Zhivago with the Pennywise clown makeup, and he's holding a red balloon, but with like the hammer and sickle on it.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes. Okay, we have solved this poster. Because you know what? I actually do love this poster because I'm imagining in the 60s when you never saw trailers and you literally just had the poster, this would have so enticed you to see the movie. Because you imagine this...
I would have gone and seen this. Holy shit. Like, yeah.
100%. Because if you know nothing, you just know it's this war epic. And there's a guy with like 2 insanely beautiful women. He has to choose which one. Like... Fuck yeah, I'd get around this, like, on that alone.
So, yeah, I think this poster works because it's like that shape is just so original in terms of like, it's not like your classic, like, it's not like a square image. It's like, it's got its own shape. The artwork itself is very unique and,
the font's good, the color's good. Like, yeah, I'm happy with it.
It's working for me. So, Nathan, in terms of title talk, was there a Dr. Zhivago and Dr. Zhivago?
You know what? There was some Dr. Zhivago. And not only that, we got to see him doing some bloody doctoring.
Hey, man.
We saw him be a doctor. We saw him bloody fix people up. It was pretty good.
Hey, mate, and if that's A+ right there, A+ standard for a film. Well done. Well done.
I love that last name, Zhivago. Is it Russian?
Well, I presume so.
It's a great name, isn't it? Zhivago. It's so colourful.
Are you going to change your name, Nathan?
Yes. Actually, this is the moment I do a full name reveal on the podcast. My name is actually Nathan Zhivago.
You guys knew it all along, didn't you? You guessed it.
I would be so ballers if I had the last name Zhivago. Like, you would just feel so top shit. Like, no wonder the doctor's fucking perfect in this movie. It's just because he has the last name Zhivago.
That's it. So, Nathan, now that we've covered basically everything, I just have one last thing that we need to do, and that is to pass the power. Power to the people. Let's pass it to the people, the power. So, Nathan, looking at the tomato meter right now, right
this very second.
It says that we have an 83%, which is pretty good, and an audience score of 88%.
People like this movie, Brent. I tell you what. Not many, though. Only 45k gave it a chance of Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah. Oh, we never mentioned, by the way, Brent, and we should have mentioned this at some point. Isn't this like adjusted for inflation, this is like the 8th highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah, when adjusted for inflation, this is the 8th highest grossing film of all time, which is just insane that it was that popular.
This movie made so much bank. I think at the time, like in the 60s, it was like $200 million, which was like insanity.
It's hard to fathom when you think about that today, that this romantic epic was the thing that,
it was as big as Endgame. Like, it was like that huge.
Yeah, amazing.
So no, good on it. And the critics now love it. Like John Puccio from movie Metropolis, he said, a passionate movie about passionate people in passionate times.
John, you didn't use the word passionate enough in your review, so
No.
But hey, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
It is very passion driven. Like, do you think it ever falls into melodrama at any point?
No, I think the story itself doesn't. No.
I think there could have been a good chance of it doing it. So you got to give it to the script that they never really found that territory.
Marjorie Baumgarten says the movie is something that should be experienced by everyone at least once in a lifetime. Marjorie, I don't know if many people are going to get around this once-in-a-lifetime experience today, just given the nature of films and how fast they are now. But, I agree. I think it's one of these epics that's like, it's like a little time capsule from another, era of filmmaking, and it's worth a watch.
100%. Like, I can't get around those books where it's like, what is it, like 1,001 movies before you die? It's like, geez. Like, could you imagine listening to one person's opinion of 1,000 fucking films you got to see before death? It's like, I can't imagine it.
I think it would stress me out, to be honest.
It would. I remember being given one as a kid, and I got through like 3 pages through, and I'm like, ugh! And I threw the book across the room. Like, I can't do it.
Oh, let's watch High School Musical. Come on.
Number 2's the best. Controversial opinion.
I would agree.
Well done. Is it because of the Miley Cyrus cameo?
No, it's because of that fucking solo from Zac Efron.
Oh my god. What's the one where like Vanessa Hudgens is like walking around like the summer resort being like, I can't remember the conflict of that movie. I just remember her walking around.
Yeah, that's number 2. Like how she walks away and she's like, I gotta go my own way.
Actually, no. Controversial. The second one has the best song out of all 3 movies.
What's that?
What time is it? Summertime. It's our vacation. Do you remember getting around that?
Mate, I got very much around that. It is a good song.
Oh, what a banger. How old are the High School Musical films? No, there's no way we're doing them for the podcast. Like, they're way too young.
I think that 07 was the first one.
Oh. Well, in 2027, we'll know what we're doing, aren't we, Brendan?
Actually, maybe it was a year or so before that. Actually, maybe it was 06. I'm not sure.
Oh. Do you remember being inspired by basketball from those movies, Brenton?
I remember not loving the first one, if I'm being honest.
You know why? Because Breaking Free was fucking everywhere. That song was just in every corner of the world. And like, I hated it by the end of it. I'm like, I'm so fucking sick of this song. And every bloody person who was a child at that time was singing that song. I'm like, it was the bloody Let It Go of our day, wasn't it, Brenton?
It was. Yeah.
Also love it because at the start of that movie, doesn't he meet Vanessa Hudgens to like a karaoke at like some ski resort or some shit like that? Like,
yeah, man. That's how they fall in love. That's how they meet. That's why every weekend I go to karaoke bars and I just like start singing a song and just hope that the love of my life is going to just join me. It's a sad existence, but not as sad as Zhivago's.
But you keep trying, buddy.
I will, buddy. Mate, what does Yassel R say? Sorry.
Russell Yasul R gave it 3 stars and said, doesn't really hold up with the times. Should have been more inclusive. Do you think the absence of Russians would be a big no-no for people watching this movie?
Nowadays, probably yes. Back then, obviously no, but
it's no Breakfast at Tiffany's Mickey Rooney, but it's still like, come on, like.
But then again, I look at Chernobyl, and you look at all those actors, Like,
it is a bloody Chernobyl, isn't it? Like, they're great Russian actors.
Yeah, Joe M gave it 5 stars and says a true classic, a time when people spoke clear, precise English with a level of sophisticated maturity.
Cheers, Joanne. Yeah, it is true. You must say, like, despite the criticism we literally just gave the movie, I do love, like, the classically trained English. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It feels like you're watching, like, Shakespeare. It's like, like, so, like the way the English language was meant to sound. Like, just like expertly crafted words and delivered,
Definitely.
like...
Exceptionally well, yeah.
Yeah, they're bloody great, aren't they? But then again, I want Russian. Lastly, Carl B. Carl B gave it 3.5 stars and said, I wasn't thrilled by this one. It has a great production value, like its costumes, production design, and music, but it's overall kind of slow and disinteresting. Would you have wanted like more action in this movie, Brenton?
No, and I don't. No, not at all. And I don't think this film is disinteresting at all.
Kick the door, get it out.
I don't think it needs it at all. Like, it's not about that. Like,
no. Is there anything like more, like less of this and more of that? You'd say for this movie?
Not really. Like, to be honest, like I don't think it needs more of the revolution for its existence, because I don't think, one, that's what the film's about, like I just said, but also I think it would muddle it too much. You know?
Yeah. The movie is always, one thing I do love is that the movie's always focused on the romance plot. Like, that's always its first priority. So yeah, I agree, Brendan. I wouldn't change anything either.
Yeah. Well, man, that's the end of our final section of the show.
Mate, we've seen this has been on my list for so long. Like, Doctor Zhivago. Like, it's one of the classics. Like, I'm so glad we've finally seen it.
Doctor Zhivago, man. I enjoyed the film. I think it's a good time, and I'm very excited to watch it again.
What a time. You know what? The more we talked about it, I'm glad I gave it a thumbs up. Like, I really did come around.
Excellent. I'm glad you gave it a thumbs up also. But guys, what I want to know now is your opinions on this film. Did you enjoy it?
But what do you think?
Yeah, man. So send us a tweet, send us an email, send us a comment on YouTube, whatever it is.
Send us a copy of the Russian novel Doctor Zhivago.
We would love to read.
We'll read it out full in Russian on the podcast. Brenton's already putting his hand up for it.
But you can find us at all those places, and you can also find us on the podcast app, and you can also find us on SoundCloud. So if you feel like checking into next week's episode, or looking back through our back catalogue of films that we've already completed, feel free to check it out. There's some ballers.
Listen to River Kwai. If you're on the edge about this one, give River Kwai a go, and then see how you feel after that.
Definitely. But hey, man, that's Doctor Zhivago, and I'm glad we covered this movie, Nathan. Thanks for the suggestion. On that note, Nathan, since you are not a proper Russian and not talking how proper Russians talk, we're going to have to send you to the shooting line right now.
But Brenton, I thought we were allowed to do Australian accent for podcast.
Nathan, this is no longer the podcast, my friend.
No. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Oh!